So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the headline match today between Australia and South Korea. A game that sees South Korea win 2-1 in extra time, and a game that gave us a lot of answers to the questions that we were wondering going into this match. How will Australia's defense hold up against the South Korean offense? How will Australia's offense, will they be able to craft some sort of opportunities up, and will they be able to finish? Can they defeat the South Korean team? Klinsmann versus Graham Arnold on the sidelines. This is a big match that both of us were really excited about.
Oh, yeah, man.
And all I gotta say is, man, when the reindeer speaks, you listen.
You're taking a 1-1 draw.
I'm taking this win 100%.
All right.
100%.
Yeah, I think my point, honestly, still stands, though, after this match. The point being that Australia's game plan was going to work against the Koreans 2 minutes away from actually beating them. And if it wasn't for Lewis Miller and his rash challenge on Heung-min's son, Graham Arnold would have put away a perfect game plan against the Koreans. But overall, dude, what a crazy game. What a crazy match. I'm pretty sure blood was spilled out on that pitch today. My ass was on the couch for 120 minutes, but I was panting myself once that final whistle blew. It was a crazy, hotly contested match, man. Both teams just going at each other. Such a physical battle. But the thing is, as I said before, I think my point stands, but I also think yours does too. And I think it's why this game ultimately ended 1-1. Your point being that the Koreans' offense just has that bit of magic, ultimately, that can get them over the finish line. And it did. I mean, the constant dribble penetration from Lee Kang-in and Heung-min ended up being just enough, causing Lewis Miller to bite. And on that bite, it's what the Koreans were looking for. What's interesting, though, is for the Australians, their whole game plan was defend. And we knew that going into the match. Yeah. And I knew that they were going to be able to match up against the Koreans no matter what. And I think over the course of 90 minutes, they did.
I say for a good 60-70 they did. And then this hole started showing, I think, in the Australian defense. Holes that weren't there to begin with. Because I agree, that first half, I think South Korea had like 65% possession. Yet Australia had 12 shots versus South Korea's like 5, I think.
Right.
Like the dominance was purely on display from Australia's point of view. But then it started kind of, tinkering more and more towards South Korea's side, especially in the 67th minute, to the point where I was like, this sort of pressing that South Korea is doing right now can't be what Australia ultimately wanted, because it was a lot, man. You could just feel it boiling. You could feel it building up until that crazy penalty call that happened. But I think that was bound to happen. In one way or another, South Korea was going to tie this match because of the way that, in my opinion, Australia sort of folded defensively after the 70th minute.
I disagree with that, though, because when you look at Korea, both goals they scored, not on the run of play. I don't think they would have scored unless it was either a penalty kick or a spot kick. But we'll never know. We'll never actually know, because what unfolded today unfolded. But I do agree. I remember thinking in the 70th, 75th minute, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to get a little hairy if you're Australian. And it definitely did.
Oh, it literally got hairy, because I also don't think this was in their game plan. Harry Sutar got a yellow card. If they would have gone through, he would not have participated in that semifinal match.
Yeah.
I thought that represented Australia kind of losing a little bit of the grip and control they had up until that point, was losing their key man in their next game had they gone on and pulled off this result.
Oh, yeah, he was immense today, and so was...
he was good.
Yeah, he was really good. So was Behic, rolls alongside him. Burgess when he came on. Jackson Irvine was also fantastic. But again, one thing that I cannot fault, dude, Korea are relentless, man. They proved it today. They proved it in their last game in Saudi Arabia. They sprint the entire match. Every single player is fully committed to somehow getting this win. That's one thing that I just absolutely cannot fault. And I think it adds to just that bit of magic that Korea is utilizing in this tournament to, get them over the line here. I do think they deserve to go through, simply because, like you said, the last 25, 30 minutes, it was just a Korean onslaught into Australia's box. And so eventually, hopefully, they were going to get something, and they did. But if Australia had held on 1-0 too, I think they would have deserved it, but in a very different way. In a very different way.
Oh, yeah, because I think the one thing I do feel I was justified in criticizing for Australia was their their clinical ability offensively, right? That first goal they got was actually a beauty by Goodwin. The way he finished that, I did not expect that sort of finish. I'm not gonna lie, that was actually I actually shut up for a little bit. I was like, okay, maybe Australia I was wrong about. Granted, the way they got the ball in that position was through Hwang Baum's terrible layoff in his own box.
Yeah.
So, like, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But still, the finish was amazing. But what we saw after that was Australia being gifted the opportunity of potentially going up 2-0, maybe even 3-0 had they scored with, I think it was Martin Boyle and Mitchell Duke having golden opportunities and completely waffling them, dude. Yeah. Completely. If they score those goals, this game's done, and you are absolutely right in your assessment. And so I will give you and the Australians that, but just that untrustworthiness that I had towards their offense, I think showed when those opportunities were given to them and they couldn't finish because they just don't have that quality at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, you're spot on that. I mean, there's really no excuse other than they just don't have that precision or that truly almost like star power type of finishing ability that maybe Korea does have, although I don't think they're displaying it fully in this tournament. But you're right. I mean, if you're relying on Mitchell Duke and Martin Boyle to consistently score, I do think you're going to be disappointed more often than not.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right in saying that the mentality, the relentlessness of the South Korean side, I think has been cemented for me.
Dude, it's crazy.
They're the equivalent of 2018 Croatia. Yeah. Extra time, back-to-back victories, playing the full 90, playing the full 120 now, and having that in the back of their minds. I don't know what's going on with this team, though, man, because they have inherently this need to put their fans through a fucking heart attack every single time they play. And the fact that they wake up so late in these games really, truly does concern me. I think it's to the point now where South Korea can't play their best football unless they're down 1-0. Because I haven't seen the opposite this whole tournament, bro. And so this to me solidified both the praise I give for their mentality and their strength and their endurance, but then also the concerns of this South Korean team doesn't know how to just take the game by its throat right away. They have to wait until shit really hits the fan and they're under pressure to show those moments.
They're so strange. They've been strange this entire tournament. And I've never said that Korea is a bad team. I just think exactly that. I don't think they're really clicking, honestly. And it was the same thing in this game. A lot of their game plan really is just get it to Lee, Sun, or Hwang Hee-chan up front and kind of hope they create something. There's not a lot coming from the midfield other than good defensive commitment. And the same thing can be said on the fullback positions. Not a lot of creativity or chances come from the fullbacks, but you do get insane defensive commitment, which at the end of the day is enough, because if you are just relying on Heung-min Son, Hwang Hee-chan, Lee Kang-in to score, that's actually not bad odds. It's not bad odds. So the rest of Korea's, I honestly don't think's really showing up, but those front three are. And I think that's why they're in the semifinal, because those three players have not given up for a single second in this entire tournament. They're scoring every single game, and they're not stopping. And then luckily, defensively, the rest of Korea is showing up. And so I do think they were the better team today against Australia, but by thin margin for sure.
I do want to just kind of key in and give a few more minutes of praise to Heung-min Son, because he finally showed up. Finally showing up to this tournament. I think up to this point, he had only scored penalty goals. But then being able to draw that penalty late in the game and being very clever in the way he did it by sticking his foot out right before the defender got there, so he drew the foul. Hwang Hee-chan steps up in his place to score the penalty, but then afterwards, that free kick was beautiful. It was absolutely genius. It was magisterial. It was a piece of art, bro. Yeah. Artwork there on the pitch, and it was amazing to see, because every time, it doesn't matter, man. I just can't remove my bias. Anytime Heung-min Son is on the ball for the South Korean team, I'm always hoping that he does something special. I always want to see him just go off and score a beautiful goal. But he's found that tough so far in this tournament, mainly not because of his form, but because of the role he plays in, man. I was watching him this whole match. Every time he gets the ball, he's just so central, and he's usually in a position where he can't really thrive or get an immediate goal or immediate assist. He has to facilitate, essentially. And so it plays into the opponent's hands by lessening his impact, but it's in these set-piece moments where he can truly shine. And my Lord, I'm so glad it actually did, because that set-piece goal was so beautiful. Going over the Australian wall, but but then defined Matthew Ryan in the process as well. South Korea goes up 2-1, and from that point on, I thought the game was over because Australia just wasn't showing any of that offensive impetus.
Yeah, and they also got a red card. So
that red card.
Zero chance.
Yeah, that red card did it for sure. What's your ultimate rating for this game?
I gave this one a 7.5.
Yeah.
It was a crazy battle, bro. And it was just so interesting to see the offensive flurry that is South Korea against this dogged defensive style Australian side go at each other. And honestly, just insanely tight match. But yeah, congratulations to Korea because I think they just got over the line.
Congrats. Yes, that's huge for them. I went 7.3. No. I went 7.3 on this one, but still a good match. And once again, if South Korea is playing, man, it's going to be an exhilarating match to watch. And they gave it to us once again, man. Good Lord. All right, next up, we have Tajikistan facing off against Jordan. Tajikistan, the debutants in this tournament, making it to the final 8 and having a true opportunity here at greatness behind the genius mind of Peter Siegert guiding this team. Facing off against Jordan, who just defeated Iraq 3-2 in the round of 16 match and now is looking to get into the semifinals as well, making history for their own country in this tournament. Jordan ends up winning this game 1-0 through a corner kick, header / own goal, you could say.
Right.
And it sees Jordan win this game 1-0. But, I mean, honestly, I think it was deserved at the end of the day with the quality that Jordan showed versus the Tajikistan side.
Yeah, you really do know you're in the quarterfinals once things start getting really physical and really tight because there wasn't honestly that much between these two sides on the day. Jordan, Tajikistan went at each other. They both, I think, played pretty much as good as they could have. I thought Tajikistan played very, very well. I thought Jordan weren't as exhilarating as they have been in the tournament. But nonetheless, I think overall, Jordan were able to impose themselves a lot more in this game. They looked very dangerous out on the wings. Olwan and Yazan had several good moments. The only problem is that they could not translate any of that threat into true goal scoring opportunities, man. I mean, they honestly really didn't get any shots on target, bro. None. The one chance that they were actually able to craft, it was Yazan, did really well on the right-hand side, finds an open Altamari in the box, but he skies it.
Yep.
Skies it really bad. That was it, other than the goal. But if you look at the goal itself, it's an own goal.
Yeah.
And that's all Jordan could really get against this Tajikistan side. A good goal, no, nonetheless. Nasib, really nice diagonal run in the box off a corner kick, meets it with a lot of aggression. But, dude, if you see the trajectory of the ball, it's going sideways, man. It's going sideways. It hits Hananov's chest and a 90-degree angle turn, and it goes in the back of his own net. Really unfortunate if you're Tajikistan. Jordan, in that case, kind of forcing or creating their own luck in that instance. But that's it. That's the only goal that decided this game. Honestly, if that goal didn't go in, even though Jordan were the better side, this could have gone the distance into extra time and possibly penalties once again for Tajikistan. And I for Tajikistan, it's kind of what we previewed, bro. Like, they just don't quite have it in that offensive line. They just don't got it.
Nothing, man. Like, any opportunity would have be like a heavy touch or a bad pass at the very end. That final ball just does not exist for this Tajikistan side in these high-octane games. And I agree, dude. I was so frustrated watching this Jordan front three, bro.
Yeah.
Olwan, Altamari, these guys, and I think they knew it themselves, showed so much in their body language in terms of frustration, like not being on the same page as one another. And Olwan getting a yellow card and missing the next match, man. I think that's huge because his dribble penetration has proven to be so big for this Jordan side, and now there's going to be an even bigger responsibility on these guys up front to generate offense with Olwan missing in the next game. So I thought that was huge for their narrative. Yeah. But I actually saw a comment on Twitter, right? I saw a comment from an Iraq fan.
Okay.
Right? And you know, Iraq fans are going through right now.
Absolutely.
We spoke about it now. But this is what Alejandro's his name. He said, "This is Jordan's path to the semifinals. Intentionally lost to Bahrain because they were too scared of Japan. Barely beat Iraq after a huge robbery. Barely beat first-timers Tajikistan with an own goal." Is there merit in that? Is this just fucking hate, man?
You know, after watching this game and also after watching Australia, South Korea, I think Iraq would have made it to the final. I really do think so, dude.
Okay.
And so Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of merit there.
Okay, look. I get it. I get where y'all are coming from. I really do. But
I think Iraq's been better than Korea and Australia and Tajikistan. Were they better than Jordan? They were until the red card. Then they conceded 2 goals.
Yeah. I wonder what would have happened in those last 20. I'm not on either side here, by the way. I'm not on Jordan's side. I'm down the middle.
I'm on Iraq's side, man. I'm sorry.
There's 20 minutes left in that game. I wonder what would have happened with Iraq being up 2-1. If they get another one, if they see the game out, or Jordan comes back. I wonder.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. That's where I'm staying at.
That's fair.
And I'm not going to criticize Jordan's run here because actually I've enjoyed their run so far. And the Bahrain game, I justify it because you're trying to get a better matchup. Go for it. I actually applaud that. The Iraq game, I mean, I'm going to stay away from that match. This game, honestly, I think is the one that I thought they should have done a lot better in, and they ultimately, I thought, underwhelmed, but they still showed that they were the better team overall.
You're right, though. There was a lot of frustration in that front three, dude. And not only that, Almardi, who has been a really nice kind of like fourth pseudo-attacker for Jordan, he got subbed off like in the 60th minute. So it just was not clicking for Jordan whatsoever offensively in this match. But I do think you can give a lot of credit to Tajikistan because in every game that they've played, they've managed to keep it as tight as they possibly can. And I just think the way that Tajikistan approached the game, it's just like such a busy midfield. There's like a big emphasis on just always putting a body on somebody. Yeah, they don't have the execution going forward, but they're probably really annoying to play against.
No, 100%.
And I think that came into play.
100%. And I think they got everything they could have out of this tournament.
Dude, yeah.
I think they leave it thinking, you know what, we were debutants. This was an incredible appearance, making it to the quarterfinals. Peter Siegert is the guy to guide this team in the future. Yeah. I just think that when it comes to them, they need to find a better way to develop their offense. They need to find new upcoming talents that are more exciting and more clinical up front that can offer way more than what they have right now, because that definitely is their weakest spot. I think defensively they're great. Hanunov I thought was great this tournament. Their goalkeeper I thought was really good as well. And I think there's some really good pieces all across the pitch that they can improve on and continue developing. Get that offense fixed up, and maybe we might see something special from Tajikistan in 2027.
For real, man. And even for 2026 World Cup, I'm curious to see how far they can go in qualifying.
You think?
I had my eyes on teams similar to Tajikistan in 2019 for 2022, and the farthest they got was like the last stage, but then bottom of the group. And I'm wondering if Tajikistan's going to be that. Are they going to get to the final phase? But then that's it.
I think so.
I think so.
I think they're like one of those teams that is right on the edge now, man. Even with the expansion, I think they're going to end up being on the edge.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I would love to see that, though, because being on the edge of qualifying for a World Cup is massive progress for Tajikistan. So a quarterfinals appearance, following it up by almost qualifying for a World Cup, that's ridiculously positive. And then from there, maybe it inspires, the next crop of players over the next 6-8 years to really show up in 27 and then, in 2030. So Tajikistan really establishing themselves here in Asia with this tournament.
Match rating on this one, I'm going to go 6.5. Just keep it simple. 6.5 for me.
I actually give this one a 7.0 just because I appreciated how tight it was. And I'm glad that Tajikistan somewhat showed up. There's been a lot more straightforward matches in the knockout stage. This one, they really did make Jordan work. So, yeah, I give this one a 7.
Okay, folks, we have a great matchup with Jordan facing off against South Korea in the semifinals, man, to go to the final. Crazy. Either Jordan or South Korea will be in the final of the AFC Asian Cup. That's insane to me.
She's insane.
That's insane, bro. And now we have 2 matchups tomorrow with Japan facing off against Iran and Uzbekistan facing off against Qatar. Check back tomorrow, guys, for our analysis after the match. Those are 2 big games, and we cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting. Let's keep this thing going. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought about today's matches, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.